Okay, guys, good morning. Welcome back. Hopefully, you've been working on your assignment, but if not, you still have till midnight today, right? So, if an announcement comes up on Blackboard, it's for everybody. If it is for a particular section, then I'll mention. Otherwise, it's don't worry about, oh, there is another section. Who is she talking to? When an announcement comes on Blackboard and it doesn't say any section name, then it holds for everybody. The assignment that was assigned to you has already been covered last week. So for your information, just for your information, you're going a week ahead of the other section. So that's why your assignment comes late when they're finished. Kind of. That's all I can do, right? Because I can't ask them before I can do it. And because we didn't have time last week and I couldn't do it in class, I just did it. I don't know, just like a feedback, let me know. Do you like to do small assignments as we do something and then something on that and cover it? Or do you like to do a big, huge assignment worth, say, 20% or something? What's the one large assignment? Anybody else with one large assignment?
Yeah, that's a hard call. Yeah, that's 50-50 for me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it this way. I think one, when you're doing something new, it's fresh in your mind, so it's done quickly. And two, if you miss a big assignment, you're gone. Like it's a 0. This way, at least you have options of doing maybe 6 or 7 in a semester, and that kind of makes up. I don't know. It's too much marking for me. I would also prefer to do one big assignment and done and finished with. You know what I mean? Like I'm marking it, but then on the other hand, I think maybe the students benefit.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like if you have a week or 2 weeks to do an assignment, then you can't really like miss it. Whereas when you have like 1 day or 2 days to do an assignment, it's possible like your schedule or something isn't going to
mess up. But when you're given this information beforehand that there will be in-class assignments, maybe you should make your schedule accordingly. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, I mean,
I'm just
class till 9 today. So
but
like
this was done on Tuesday. That's why I posted it 2 days before. Giving it in class, I thought I'll just give you 2 days in advance. So it's kind of giving you in advance, and then if I have time today, I can say, here, take the last hour to do it. But I can't guarantee it. I'm seeing that I'm unable to finish. So that way, it's only something I want to kind of gauge. As I said, for me also 1 is enough. But let's say, you know what? Even if I give 2 weeks, 90% of the class starts doing it on the last. Believe it or not. Because I get all questions on the last day, sometimes at 11 at night. So that's what my thinking was. I'm giving them enough time. They'll go through it. If there are any difficulties, they'll come to. Nothing happens. Nothing. It will always be the last day. So yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but kind of, I don't know. I just think, and again, I'm trying to keep it open because it's a lot of work for me too. Marking in class assignments 6 or 7 in a semester is not easy, especially with this Visual Basic, because I download it, I unzip it, I open it. Like it's not one file that I just have to look at. You know what? Like look at code and it works. So I don't know. Like I've been kind of thinking and confused myself as to what should I be doing, and therefore I wanted some feedback. But I see there is no yes or no or kind of, though I only saw one hand. I don't know. Okay, anyway, so let's go further today. So till last week we were doing this project, if you remember. I had told you how to work with, of course, validating your input. So validating input is one big major point that you must keep in mind when you're programming. Like there's nothing without it, because it's zero, garbage in, garbage out. So input validation is a must in every application you write. On the other hand, once input has been validated and you get output, you must also double check that your output is correct. Nothing says if the input is right, my output will be right. Maybe your calculations are wrong. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things. If you kind of, I mean, if you see things on internet, you read sometimes or whatever, right? Whenever you have time, like I do whenever, they are emphasizing on very important things. 1, of course, input validation. 2, of course, that your output is correct. 3, writing defensive programming, that is always taking care of all kind of exceptions that you think can happen, because you never know what can happen, right? And these are
points that I also try to stress in my programming, because I think programming must be done like perfect. It should be perfect. It should be like a professional. Right? And commenting is another thing that they say that it should always be there. So like I'm trying to kind of gauge what's going on, though I don't work in the industry. So all I can do is I can gauge from posts and blogs and stuff online, and I try to do what I can. If the class is not working for you, if there is anything that's not expected as you expected it, please let me know. I would rather know it and then kind of change it if I can, rather than you kind of just, wasting your time and just saying, oh, this is useless. So every time when I come, I try to bring something new and I try to show it to you, because I think that's one way of doing it. The other option I had given you in the beginning of the class, if you don't like typing in class, I hate it too. It's too much typing for me too, but I think that's the way to learn. But if that you don't like it, I can always bring a ready-made program and I can open it and we can go through it. That way I can do it in less time and you can have time for your assignment. But then assignment is something you'll have to do. Right? So whatever works for you or whatever is not working for you, let me know. Right? That way, at least I can kind of work around it. But no way will I be able to do everything in C#. It's not possible. I'm only concentrating on Windows desktop applications and Windows Forms. That's all I'm concentrating on, with, of course, good programming fundamentals or principles. That's my aim, right? And since this is the only course, I can't kind of say, oh, you know it, and I can't say I can do everything. It can be done. Okay. So let me know. You can give me your feedback by email if you like, on paper if you like, if you want to be anonymous, or just come and speak to me. I would like to listen so that I can improve if any improvement needs to be done, because this is important, right? This is not math course where you can kind of get it. You know what I mean? Like, this is programming. So you should know, and you are programmers, so you should know. Okay, so what I've done is I'm going to add more to this form today. One, I'm going to make it a multi-form project today. So till now, till this time, you've been creating only a form in your projects, and we've been working with it, and it looks fine. We've done a few things. We've done what I wanted to do to kind of start it. I'll go to multi-form, and then I'll again come back to do more. Okay, so what I've done is, and you can keep the same project if you like from last week. I just made a copy of it, and I just renamed it, the major thing different, and I'm making the changes. So again, it will go on GitHub. My GitHub, you can find me on GitHub by looking for Anju Chawla, one name. I never realized it. I should have put it on Blackboard. I just thought, oh, it's in my name, so everybody will find me. You know what I mean? But whatever it is. So all one name, Anju Chawla, is if you go and look for me, you should find me. Okay, but again, I'll put it on Blackboard. And also on YouTube, if you again go and look by my name or your course code, you should be able to find your videos. Again, I'll try to put it on Blackboard. I'll remember to put it on Blackboard. Yes?
So it's right if we create a copy of this, rename it copy sales too.
Yeah, so here, this is how you do it. Just because Visual Studio is a little bit dicey. Like, it's not very easy to just say save as or whatever. So the easiest way to do it is, whatever you had from last week, right? You copy it into another place. Just copy it somewhere else. So make a copy, take this. So Visual Studio, you can do save as and so on. It never works. It always messes it up. So the easiest way to make a copy of a project is, you take that project and copy it somewhere else, not in the same folder for now. Just copy it, right? And then rename it. I just renamed the outer ones. I didn't change anything inside because it doesn't really matter to me. The names were all good. And then I brought it back to the same directory because I wanted them together in the same directory. Right? That's how you do it. So inside it, everything will be the same. Like, it will be the same copy, only the outer name remains the same. And that's fine by me. And as I said, you could have just done it in the previous one. And since this goes on GitHub, and you all know that GitHub will do version control. So if you wanted to get this week's work, you would only look for today's date and copy. But I kind of thought I would just keep it separate so that the lessons are separately available. And that's why I did that. But the main advantage of GitHub, of course, sharing code and all this is of course there, but it's version control, right? Something that programmers must always do. So as you save it, it keeps your versions, right? So you can always go back to a previous version and get what you have. So instead of just changing, you're kind of keeping your versions. So it could have been done that way too. You don't have to bother to do it. It's up to you. So I'll just put it on again. It will again go on GitHub, and I have, again, when you look for it, it should say something with your course code F2017 and Thursday and lesson 4 Git, right? Okay, so today's aim, a few new GUI elements. So we will learn how to create a menu today, how to create a context menu today, how to work with font dialog boxes and color dialog boxes, and also how to work with multi-fonts. So the logic, there won't be much in the logic necessarily, of course a little bit, because we've already done it, but I'll teach you a few more things. Okay, so that's what I'm aiming at today. Right, so again, if at the end of the class I do get time, you will be allowed to work on your in class 3 and I'll mark your 2, but if not, then you have till midnight anyway to complete it. Right, and you've already covered that. There's nothing in that assignment that is required from today's class. Okay, so let's start. How do you create a menu? So we'll start with menu and I'll keep the picture so that I can see what I need to create. So I'll be creating menus, and then of course menus have menu items and so on and so forth. There are many things in it. So if you go to your menus or your all Windows form or common controls, wherever you like, you will notice that there are a couple of options under the menus. You have context menu strip, you have menu strip, you have tool strip, container, and so on. I will be concentrating on 2 and 3. Context menu strip and menu strip today. So what is a context menu? This is a context menu. This is what is called a context menu. When you right click, the menu that comes up is called a context menu. Okay, so if you would like to create a context menu with your form, this is what you do. Right, so all you do is you double click on your context menu strip and you will notice that it does not have a visual effect on the form, but it will come in your component tree. Right, so with your form, now you could do it with each one of them. Like you could have a context menu with every control. I'm not doing that. I'm just doing it with the form for now. Okay. So what does the context menu do? It will create a context menu for you, which means when you right click on your form, it will show you a few options and you can select from them. So now if you go to your form and you look for, there it will be. See, you've added a property called context menu strip. That's the property you've added. And if I kind of click on it, it says which context menu do you want to associate with the form. So as I said, you could associate with every control, you could have a different context menu. I'm just sticking to one so that I just wanted to show it to you. Okay, and that's what I did. And I'll say, oh, I want to associate this one. And that's what will get associated. Okay, now what do I want to put in this context menu? So if you notice, when I click on that control, the context menu, its property comes up and there is a collection here. You notice there is an items collection here. So if you click on it, I think that's it. I'm almost positive. Let me just kind of look at it. You can change the name. If of course you were having different ones, you would. I think I'm okay with this. Okay. Now, you know what? There is an easy way. This one is a little more. There is a little more. I will do it the easy way here. So I can do it through the collections also, but I'll take you to the collection afterwards. Notice that when you click on context menu here, you see a strip there. It's called the context menu strip. So now I will be doing something. So you could add whatever you like in here. For example, I'm just taking something simple for now. I'm taking about. Right. So I'm taking about. A is the shorthand is the shorthand key, and I'll tell you something else as soon as you enter it. Come back to about for a minute and notice by default, it has given it a name. So you don't have to bother to change the name. It is called it. It's a big name, but it has called it about tool strip menu item. Now, if we were following that convention of putting tool strip menu item at the end, we would have been fine. But just because, at least in this project, I'm following the other notion, I'll go here and I'll call it, the shorthand is TSMI. For tool strip menu item. So a 4-lettered one, not a 3-lettered one. I just wanted to tell you that it will take the name you've given it, which is good. You don't have to bother about it. So if we were following that convention that the name comes at the end, we wouldn't have bothered even to change it. But since I'm using my abbreviations, I've changed it to TSMI, tool strip menu item. And then the name about, I've just made A capital because all these names should be using Pascal naming convention, right? Okay, so now let's come to the other one. So what have I done? And of course, the text that you put there has already come here, and A about, right? So that's kind of easy with menu items. For us, we just have to change the name. Okay, so what now? The second one, I'm going to take exit, and I've called it E and XIIT. And you'll say, oh, you already have an X in your exit button. But keep in mind, not all these controls will come together. Like if I go, if I choose the context menu strip, then the exit of that particular menu is activated. So here is a place where you can duplicate your keys as long as those controls are not kind of do not clash. So a context menu item is not clashing. It only comes up when you do a right click. So there is where you can duplicate your keys. And I would tell you to duplicate them because it makes sense. It's the same exit. Okay. Okay. So that's my second one, which is an exit. So again, when you come out of it, you will see, or if you want to go to it, which we should. So we'll go here and we'll again change it just because that's the way we are working. So TSMI exit with a capital T is what I've called it. Right now, just to show you what was this collection that I was talking about. You could wait. No, not this one. No, not this one. No. The collection that I was talking about, the items that you've entered there come here. So you could have done it here,
but it's just, the visual is just more easy to do. But after this, if you want to make any change, notice you can add items from here. You can change their sequence if you like. These arrows are for sequence. So you can change their position. So if I say, oh, I take this one and I want to move it down, you can use this arrow. If you want to delete a menu item, you can delete from here. The properties are coming on your right-hand side too. All these properties are coming on the right-hand side. Again, if you would like to see them from alphabetical order, you can, same properties are coming there. So this is another way you could have done it. So you could open your context menu and you can add your items from here. So whatever works for you. To begin, I kind of do it that way because it's visual. And then if changes have to be made, I always come here. But you should be aware that that's what it is. Okay. And it comes in the collections property because it's a collection. A menu is nothing but a collection, which means that each one of these, if for the about one, you wanted to make another collection, you could do it from here. So about could have another sub menu under it and so on and so forth. You could have any number of sub menus, which happens right here. See, I can go to file and then from file, I can go to new and then from new, I can go to other things. So these are called sub menus and you can create them for anything you like. I've just kept it at about and exit. So what I'll do is with this exit, with this exit, I'll give it the same, go to its event and under the click method, choose the button exit. What are you saying? You are saying that this menu item, why would you write the code again, right? Why would you copy and paste the code again? So what are you saying? You're saying for this exit menu item, the event handler is the same, its name is odd, but the one that is for the button exit. Now you can start changing names if you like. If you don't like to call it button exit, maybe just call it exit. You can do that if you like, right? So that the names are not like, that's why I said, people are saying, why are we even putting button and so on in front of our controls? It's more confusing than anything else. And I agree, because when you change your controls, you will not keep changing their names. But I'll stick to what I've been doing. So that's how you can share. For about, I don't have anything yet, so I'm not doing anything. But what have I done for exit? For exit, I have said that this button, the click method of this exit should share the same event handler of the button exit click. So when you click on it now, it will do the same job that exit is doing. Okay, let me show you how it works. Okay, so let's start it. And this is how the context menu comes up. So when you do a right click on your form, anywhere on your form, doesn't matter. As I said, you could create other ones, but I mean, the one that is coming here is the default of the text box. But if you wanted to create your own menus, context menus, you could. So all you do is you right click and that menu will come up, right? To see the shorthand keys. Now this is always a challenge. It's always a challenge to get the keys because the shorthand keys don't come up. And I'll show you how exit is working. See, it's working the same way as the normal exit. Not by chance, not because it's called exit, because I made its event handler the same as the exit button. And this has changed. Again, keep in mind, behind the scenes, please keep in mind, this change must have also come in the designer.cs. So if you go to the designer.cs, just because I want you to be aware of what's going on, and look for the TSMI that you just added. What was it called? TSMI exit group box. You can do it. You can always do
So there is button exit. There is the menu strip item that you added, right? So it's given it a size and everything. It has given it a name, and I didn't change the name because I only have one context menu strip. And there it is here. So this is saying, oh, that's the name of my menu item. This is saying the size, the drawing, right? This is saying it's text. And this, the click method has, this is called wiring, right? The event wiring. So the event that has been wired to the exit TSMI is the same as button exit. Right? So there is no magic anywhere. As programmers, you should know what's going on everywhere. Right? So I could have written a different procedure, but why would I? Like the whole purpose is lost then. Okay, so there is my context menu, which means if I wanted to create a menu, I would do something like this. So double click on your menu strip and you will notice that a menu strip comes at the head of your form. Right now, you can put whatever you like. I'll try to stick with what I have. So I'm going to, again, you could do the same thing. You could go to its collections and do it. I just find it easier here, whatever it is to you. So I'll start with the first one and I'll create a menu item called file. So notice how you can go right, you can go down. Right, so you can add as many menus as you want. Do an enter and it will come here. Oops. So if you wanted to, you could just kind of start typing. You could go to the next one and start typing. So just so that you know, the second one is edit. And the third one is help. The only thing is if you change the name afterwards, so you typed something and then you want to change the name afterwards, then it will not automatically change the name in the properties. You'll have to come back and change it. Okay, but here it is. Okay, so under help, I'll go here. This is under help and I'll put an about here. I think that's all I put under about. Let me double check. I took screenshots. I think help only had about. So again, I'm using the same key because it's not the about of my context menu. Right? We'll change their names afterwards. Under edit, I want you to put a few things, and those are calculate selection. So the user has the option of pressing a button or coming here, and of course you won't have both of them. You would either keep buttons or menu items, whatever works. I'm just showing you both. You can always delete one of them. My aim is to show you new things today. The second one is clear. And C, oh, there it was an L. You could do whatever you like. It really doesn't matter. In the same one, it really doesn't matter. Do I have a calculate? No, I don't have a calculate, but I have a C already. So I'll go with clear. I'm keeping the same shorthand keys by purpose, just because they're the same, you know, controls kind of, except they're occurring in different places. And if you would like to draw a line, you can always draw a separator here. So you can put a menu item, you can put a combo box, you can put a text box. I'll put a separator just because it looks a little neat. And then I'll go font here. And F is my shorthand key. And with font, I'll just put 3 dots here. Right? Why the 3 dots? Because if you put 3 dots in a menu item, it says there is another dialog box will open up. I'm trying to follow the same kind of concept as you see in Windows. And oh, I didn't give it a shorthand key. No, I did. Okay. And lastly, I'm going to give color here. So C and O is the shorthand key. Right. So this is what I've created for my edit. I have a calculate selection, a clear, a font, and a color. Oh, and I forgot to put my double dots in my font. Triple dots. I'll just show you. This is very common here. If you kind of go somewhere where I can show you that it will have a further there. See, notice how it says add user control and you see 3 dots. What it means is this menu item will show a dialog box, right? So if you try to do something like this, add Windows form, a dialog box comes up. So that's what will happen in my font and color also. That's why I've kind of put those 3 dots. Okay. So that was the purpose. Now, since names and under file, I'll put new order, summary, and exit. Okay, so under file, start typing here. So it will be new order. N was the shorthand key. I'll stick to the same one. Summary I haven't yet done, but I will. S is the shorthand key. I'm just putting this first, then, I mean, it's giving it names anyway. And again, I'll put a separator here. And then I'll say exit here again. And X is the shorthand key. So nobody says you have to have buttons and menu items and context menus, but I mean, I'm just adding to the previous project. So I'm just showing you different ways. Of course, you could always remove your buttons. And remember, when you remove buttons, be careful that you take care of in the designer file also.
How do you have that separated?
Oh, in the separator, when you come here and you choose, you'll see a separator here. Okay. Okay, so that's my file. That's edit. And that's help. Right now, just because of our naming convention, we'll have to kind of go here and we'll have to not very helpful for us, but anyway. What did we call this one? Calculate, button calculate. So I'll call it the same thing, okay? With the calculate selection, oh, it did call it only. No, it did give it the full name. So it depends on you, whatever you want to do. So it's TSMI and then calculate. I'm just keeping the same name. As I said, you could do what you like. I'm just putting TSMI in front of it and I'm just calling it whatever I've called it. On the, except the calculate selection, I don't know, I just went lazy. Not lazy because I've done the same thing. Okay, so let's come to file now. We were better off using the other convention, but no option now. So in the same project, I can't change my mind. Okay, so all my controls have been named properly. Why didn't it do it? TSMI. Oh, I think I've used it with my context menu, right? The TSMI. Yep, I think so. Unless, oh, that's the mistake I made there. But it didn't tell, did it also complain here? Yeah, okay, so maybe for the context menu, it's something else. Please double check. That was my mistake. I'm not sure. It could be something else for context menu. So controls, abbreviation C#. I don't think so, but anyway. Tool strip menu items are TSMI. Context menu strip is CMS, my mistake, sorry. Oh, tool strip TSR, TSMI. How did I get the TSMI? I must have looked at it somewhere. I don't see a TSMI. Was it my mistake? Context menu strip. No, it's not a menu strip. It's a menu strip item. See if you see a menu strip item, guys. I must have picked it from somewhere. Though I don't see any 4-lettered one anyway, right? I couldn't have made it myself, I'm sure, but these are all 3-lettered ones. Where did I see it? Tip, radio button, mask, link label, checkbox, picker, picture box, tree view. I don't even see a context menu strip item. CMSI. Oh, there they are. I think I'm okay with that. I must have seen it somewhere. Couldn't. Okay, so context menu strip is, oh, not this one. Sorry, just the about. So this is wrong. It's CSMI. Context is CSMI. And the exit is CSMI. And now you come to your help and do the about as TSMI. And come to your edit and F file and exit TSMI. Okay, of course you can't give the same names, and that's what it was saying, that you already have the about and the exit. And that is where I found my mistake, right? That I had given them the wrong name. Oops.
Use looking for the about button to create with context menu strip, it prompted me to create a method, but what if we type in the...
I didn't do anything. No, I haven't created any method for about yet. We will. So you keep it, then we will. Okay. You can do the anything. Okay. So my menu is ready. So my menu strip, this is called a menu strip, right? File, edit, and help is called a menu strip. And then you have menu items in there. And as I said, you could, whatever you would, you can even do this. I'll give you a simple one because exit usually has one. What does exit usually have? Alt F4. Okay. So if you go to file and you go to exit, and the property is called shortcut keys, right? Shortcut keys. If you go here and you go, what is it? Alt F4. So do an Alt and you say, I need to use F4 for it. Here, you can even create this, right? So I've created a shortcut key, Alt F4 for my exit, just to show you. You could do it for everything. I just picked up, it was called F4, Alt F4. So this is how you can do it. And say yes, and that's done. And show shortcut keys, of course, you have to say true. If you say no, then it won't show them. Then the purpose is lost, right? So there it is. You can create shortcut keys also. So keyboard access key is different from a shortcut key. Keep in mind, right? So these, the underlined words are the keyboard access keys, right? That's what they are. And these are called shorthand keys. So you could create whatever you like. You can create any shortcut keys if you want, just so that you know. Okay, so my menu is ready and my context menu is ready. And now I have to do a few things. Oh, the same thing here, please. Come to your file, go to your exit, go to its events, and in its click event, again, choose the button event click. So you've matched it, right? In the new order, please choose the new order button. We already have them. That's why I don't want to repeat it. What else? Summary I haven't yet written. I will. In the edit, I had calculate selection. Please go to its click method and choose the calculate button. Calculate button. And in its clear, please choose the clear. Font and color we will write. Help about I haven't yet written. Okay, right? So I've kind of, whatever was already present, I have linked it. So now I'm sharing event handlers. And you've seen event handlers sharing last week also for all your radio buttons. They were all in a group and we had written one and they were all sharing it. It's the same thing here. So all you do is you link it to its event. So you're saying this is the event handler. And that linking will take place in your designer file. If you don't like to do it this way, go and code in your designer.cs. Though I would tell you to keep it. Sorry? Events, yes. So choose whatever you would like to kind of new order. Then there is this events button here on the right. Yeah, click that. And then under the click event, choose the one that you would like to choose for the particular one. Right? And this wiring is taking place also in your CS file after you do this. So what you're doing here visually is being also done in your .cs, the designer.cs file. Okay, so that is being done. Now the new things. Now before I do the new things, definitely there are a few things that you have to do, but I'll do the forms first because forms is much easier. Now this is one form. I just have one form. Let me make it a multi-form project today, right? So this is what I would like to do. When the application is launched, now my application is so small, it doesn't take a lot of time, but suppose it was a big application and you would like to show a splash screen at the beginning while it is still launching, right? You could do that. So you could set a timer and you could say, oh, while my application is still loading in the background, which you have an idea of how approximately it will take, maybe, 1 second or maybe 5 seconds, whatever it is, you can create a splash screen. So a splash screen is just a special kind of form. It's just a form. You call it a splash screen because it splashes before the actual application comes up. And I'll show you how to create a splash screen, how to set its timer, how to make it come up before the application and make it work. Okay, so to create a new form, please go to project and add a Windows form. Right now in the Windows form, there are a few options here. You can see that you can add a class, an interface, and so on. I'm interested in adding a Windows form. Right now you can call it whatever you like, but we already know that we don't want to leave it at form 1. I'm going to call it splash screen. I'm going to call this form as splash screen. Again, just because it makes sense to me, right? So a splash screen.cs Windows form will get created and it will show up. Okay, I have access denied, but I do see up here. Now, what could that be? I have no clue. I'll have to look at that afterwards. I've already installed it 4 times. I already had the access denied, but gladly it's here. So what has happened? A new form has been added to your project. Notice it's called splash screen.cs and it looks like any other splash, like any other form that you've created. Now, usually with the splash screen, you don't want to see this title bars. It's just a screen that comes up. You don't minimize it or maximize it or close it. That's not what you want to do. So we'll do a few things here. You can make it whatever size you like. I'll kind of put a picture on it and put my name on it, something like that. You could do whatever you like. And I will change its properties so that this status bar doesn't even come up, and that property is called, oh, I think I know. I may be wrong, but I'll try. I can't remember what it is. I think it's called control box, and false will take it away. Oh, I still see the name. Okay, so maybe I can remove the text property, but I was seeing the whole blue bar also goes. So that's the control box, just so that you see, if you want to remove all your 3 buttons, you can say control box is false and it won't show up. But I'm trying to look for a property. I think you can make the whole thing go. Anybody who kind of knows it, who's done it before? Maybe in form border style, fixed dialog. Let's try fixed dialog. No, that's not working. Fix. Remove the whole bar. 9? Oh no, but that's not what I wanted. You could, if I do that, then I won't even see a border. But you can keep the border. That's one way of doing it, of course. But there's one way of doing it. The other way is there is a property. I did the control box, but I can also remove. When I see it, I think I'll know it. The start position, of course, we'll change these properties. This is something we already know. Maybe it is the control one. And I'll remove the text. I can't recollect. Doesn't look like, but maybe I'm wrong. The control box does do the job, and I removed the text from it, so it will look like that, but I don't know. Anyway, kind of looks odd. Okay, so now whatever you would like to put on the splash screen. Usually in the splash screen, you will see an image and you will see the name of the company and stuff like that. You could do whatever you like. So I'll kind of just take a picture box just so that we have something. That's all. So you could take a picture box and put up, right? And you can kind of, I don't know, whatever you like. You can put an image inside it. And remember, we have some images in the same one. Oh, this was not the one. Oh, it was another one. Okay. I'll have to import one. So you can get any good image if you like, wherever you can find some. I'm just picking up the coffee image because this is again R&R for reading and refreshment. I'm just picking up a coffee image. You can pick up any coffee image you like. So I knew we have one from the old, in an old one. I think lesson 2 is where we had it. Oh, no. Where does it go? I thought it went in. Oh, that's not the place. Oh, well, I thought it went somewhere in properties, resources. Maybe this is not the right folder then. I thought we had, where did we do those images? Can you remember? They must be sitting somewhere, except I can't find them. Lesson 1, 3 didn't have images. I thought 2 had images, or maybe your assignment did. Can't even remember now. Yeah, we did have some coffee images. Okay, I'll find it afterwards. You can always put an image here. And here, if you like, you can put your own company icon, like whatever. It really depends on you. I'll just put a rich text box because then you can put anything in the rich text box. Remember a rich text box? You can put any kind, you can kind of give it any text. And I'll make it read only as true for this text box. And text, you can do whatever you like. So here you can say, welcome to or whatever. What was the name of the company? R&R for reading and refreshment, something like that. Bradley, please, you're constantly talking. I think if you pay attention here, you will be able to follow it and you won't disturb Carlos also. He needs to concentrate too, right? And keep disturbing other students. Right, so you could do something like this, make it more pretty. I'm just kind of making it, and I'll make its read-only property as true. So the user cannot, of course, write into it. You can change its background color. You can give it an image. I mean, whatever you like, right? It depends on you. It's just a splash screen I'm creating. The important thing with splash screen is this. I would like you to create a timer object with your splash screen. Now, what is this timer object? As the name suggests, to time it. So just double click on a timer object. There it is. It will appear in your component tray, right? Now what this timer does is I'm going to associate it with my splash screen because it won't come otherwise. I mean, I can make my splash screen come because my program will load before even it has the chance to show the splash screen. So to force it to stay, that's why I need a timer here. Or the other thing is if you want to show your splash screen for some time, that's entirely up to you. But for me, it's a must here because otherwise I can make it come. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a timer here. And if you go to the interval, it says frequency of elapsed events in milliseconds. So if you want to go something like 5 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever, and we'll make it enabled. If I don't do it, I won't be able to show you my splash screen. So I've created a timer object. I've associated it with my splash screen. I've enabled my timer and I've set a 5-second timer, right? So my splash screen will show for 5 seconds. But if it was a big application, then it would automatically show, but that automatic is not automatic. This is where you would do it. So what you want to do is before your application runs here, before your application runs, you want to show your splash screen. And how do you do it? Create an object of your splash screen, call it whatever you like. And remember, every form has a constructor. I'll show you the code. It has a constructor and it will call the corresponding form and it will come up. And to show this, I'll use the show dialog method, which actually is a modal dialog box, which means you don't have to respond to it, right? A modal dialog box. So you've done the show method. In the show method, you have to respond. You have to do either an OK or yes or no or whatever. Those are called non-modal dialog boxes. Show dialog is used when you want to show a modal dialog box. That means it will just appear. You don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to respond to it. And then because I've set a timer, it will show for 5 seconds and it will not automatically go. I'll have to do something. So job number 1, create a splash screen. Put whatever, make it pretty, right? Pictures and whatever. But it's something that's coming up before your application is loading. And you'll say, why? Because your application is taking time to load, not because you want it to. But you could still do it. I mean, I know my application does not. 2, come to your program.cs file, create an object of your splash screen and show it on the screen. Otherwise, this is what happens first, right? 3, the timer is only for me. And now how do you kind of say, okay, you're done. The timer must take care. You come to your design of your splash screen, go to its code and you have to set it here. And this is the constructor. See, the constructor is already here. Why doesn't it like it? Oh, XML comments are missing. And double click on your timer, please. And it creates an empty, again, method event handler here. Now, what should I do here? I should just disable my timer. Right? That's all I have to do. Otherwise, it won't be ever disabled. So it will keep on. I enabled it and it will just be enabled. Even after 5 seconds, I have to disable it. So what am I saying? I'm saying when it is ticking, right? When it is ticking and the timer was called timer 1 dot, its property was called enabled and set it to false. There. So when is this event handler called? So if you bring your, hopefully will it help me? Okay, naming rule violation, I understand that. You can go and check, but take my word for it. what happens is when those 5 seconds have passed, this event handler is called. And what are you doing in this event handler? You are disabling the timer. So it will, the screen will go off, the splash screen will go off. That's what I'm doing. Okay. So the timer is just so that I can, if I don't have it, it will never show because it will show, but you won't be able to see because it will come and go and your application will load. So I've forced it to stay. Now run your application. So now when my application is run, there is my splash screen, which should go away after, it is 5 seconds. Okay, so what is not working? Did I?
You put 5,000.
So 5,000 is milliseconds, which is 5 seconds. That's in milliseconds.
No.
Shouldn't it be 500?
Give me a minute. Millisecond. Oh, yes. No, 5,000. 5,000 milliseconds make a second. 1,000 milliseconds make a second. So something is wrong. Something is wrong means I have to check up what is wrong.
Well,
What?
you made a new splash screen object, but you don't have that object linked to this form.
No, I have here, look in your program.cs. It is calling that splash screen form. Oh, did I? Oh, I forgot to rename it, but I can't do it now. But that's what I did. I created a new object of that form and I said, show it on the screen. I said, create a new object of that form and show it on the screen. And then I created a timer for it. I enabled it and then I disabled it. So logically it looks okay, but something of course is wrong because it's not working. Now I forgot this, my mistake, guys. I should have renamed it FRM splash screen, but I forgot, but we can do it now. But why is it not working? Logically, okay, create a form, show the dialog. When it shows, there is a timer that is associated. The timer has been set to enabled is true and the interval is 5,000. This is millisecond, guys. Frequency or last time, that is 5 seconds. And then I have said disable it. So where am I going wrong logically?
Like, how are you actually disabling the form itself?
By disabling this is what I'm doing. I set a timer with it.
Yeah.
Right? And the timer, I said every interval of 5 seconds, it will go and check that method, that event handler. And when I disable it, here it was enabled, I disable it, timer is disabled, it's gone. Oh, I see what you're saying, but is it required logically? Not the actual form. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So, yeah, close the form, right? That's the only logical thing, close the form. So let's try that. That's the only thing I can think of. So the timer has to be disabled for sure. But I have to close the form still because that form has not been closed. It's only the timer that I have disabled. Right. Makes sense. So let's try that. But the timer should be disabled. Let's try that. That should work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Okay. Yes, of course. I've said the timer is off, but that doesn't mean the form will not show because the show dialog is still there, right? I have to close the form.
So it's just like sitting on.
Sitting here, yes.
So is it actually loading this application the entire time that it's showing that splash screen?
Because I have a timer associated, I've forced it to not load till 5 seconds. But actually a splash screen is created so that while it is loading, it comes up. But for me, it will not come up because I don't have that time. So I forced it.
Run it in like separate threads or something? Because you're just getting caught up on that splash screen and then it doesn't load the actual form.
Yeah, but I'm doing it. But in the real application, you won't set a timer or anything. It will just load and when it's done, then you close it. In that timer, you don't even have to do it. The application should automatically come. Is my thinking.
So if there's no timer in there, you're just going straight to the screen?
Should, right?
So
Logically, yes.
How would it
So-
close then if you don't have a timer?
If I don't have a timer, that means there is no event handler for the timer. If there is no event handler, how am I making it close, right?
Yeah.
But then the splash screen, the whole concept of splash screen is useless.
So it just automatically closes?
Like on load up a second.
But something must be done. Give me a minute, let me think about it. Because logically, the timer should not be needed, right?
Yeah.
So if you take out that timer, will it just We won't see the splash screen, we'll just load this.
Not for me at least.
Let me try. I see what you're saying. Then if there is no timer, so you're basically saying, and it makes sense. So if you're basically saying, if I don't do this, right, by default, but how does it know that my splash screen should be gone away and my form should be loaded if I don't put a timer with it?
But you said this is the purpose of the splash screen.
It is the purpose of the splash screen is while, you see, actually, you're right, maybe. Let me see, let us look at it another way. Your question is it loading in the background when it is being done? In a way, yes. In a way, yes, right? For me, because if I don't have the timer, I won't be able to do it. I'm just trying to say the user is seeing something while the application is being loaded. So at all times, I will have to put a timer to it, wouldn't I? Logically?
Unless it's built in, that it will stop.
That it will just automatically do.
Close when.
Or close it. So what can we do
If you
is,
just open it without the string timer, you won't see the splash screen.
it will just go there, yes.
Because it's so quick, but that means
It is doing it. Yeah, it does come for a very, it does come, you can see. The other thing is, for my application, if I don't use a timer and I do something like thread.sleep and make my application sleep, and then you will know that it automatically comes. It should come automatically by virtue of what a splash screen is. I'll tell you what the difference they've done here. A couple of years back, they had a form called splash screen. There was an inbuilt form splash screen, and its main purpose was while it is loading, it will come and then automatically go away. Now, since 2015, they have removed that splash screen form completely from the interface. So does that mean they've also removed the functionality? So now I have to create one. Otherwise, there was a form called splash screen, and it was automatic. Now with this one, I have to test it to see, because they've removed it, does it still act like a splash screen by default? So I'll double check and let you know. But it should, right? But again, the splash screen is gone. The whole concept of splash screen is gone. So you're kind of saying, so you are as a programmer saying, since my application takes 5 seconds to show on the screen, I'll set a timer and then it will show up automatically. So is the programmer responsible for that assumption? I don't think it doesn't make sense, right?
Like, how could you ever know how long?
Exactly, that's what I say. That doesn't make sense. It depends upon the computer on which it is coming up, right? So I double check to see if I can make my application sleep for some time and see if it automatically works. And it should, logically it should, right?
When a form starts up, it runs some kind of initialize or initiation method automatically, right? So would you not just have the closing of the splash screen run first thing or last thing in the initialization of the actual form?
You mean in its initialize component stuff? In its initialize component method? Is that what you are?
Or whatever the.
Or maybe you mean somewhere here also, like here? But then it would just open and it would close automatically, right? No, I think he means at the end of the, I think maybe here at the end of here.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you could
Directly, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere here after the initialize component, somewhere here. Yeah, could be. I don't know. Like I have to double check now because the whole concept of splash screen is gone. So if I don't have the timer at all, I mean, there has to be. Otherwise, the whole purpose of the splash screen is gone, right? Let me see what happens. I've disabled it altogether. Oh, it is still coming. So because I've associated a timer with it. And do you see something? Because it was disabled. Can you, if you run it, you see that it is in an infinite loop? It's in an infinite loop. So the timer has to be enabled and disabled. That has to be sure. But the other thing, of course, is that why would I decide like how much, and the programmer doesn't know, depends upon the computer it is running. Okay, let me look into this and let me get back to you. Of course, I'll have to find out a solution or try something and then see how it works. Because that is the main purpose of splash screen. And you never had to do anything. Now that I remember, now that you asked, you didn't have to set a timer, nothing. It would come up. Though if it came up even for a split of a second, you could just see it and it went away and then the application would come. And that is what is the use of a splash screen. Right? So since it is no longer available now in their options, I don't think they can get away with the functionality or something, but I'll have to look up. I will. Okay. So I will do that for you. because it's not happening by default. So this is forcing it. This is me forcing it to come for 5 seconds and then the application comes up. Okay. Now, since we are at it, I'll also would like to create an about form for you. And I would like to bring your attention to this about box. So again, what is an about form? The about form is a form that shows information about the company and maybe what does the application do and so on and so forth. That's what an about form is. And you notice I have an about in my context menu also and in my about help also. So it's like about the application. So to create an about form, again, you can create a normal form and you can put whatever information on it and whatever. But again, notice there is an about box here. It is called about box. So like an about box, there used to be a splash screen also till before the last version, and it would work automatically. So I'm going to show you this about box, and I'm going to call it FRM just because that's what I've been calling it. And I forgot in my splash screen, and you can remove the word box, but you'll see why they call it box. So I'm calling it form about. And again, it seems I'll get that access denied. No, I do. I have no clue what it is saying. Do I have the about thing? There it is. Okay, so that's what comes up. That's the default. That's the default of an about form. About box it is called, right? Now you say, why did they have it? It's kind of something that you will always do in an about form. You may put an image of your company, like an icon, some image or something of your company. You would like to put a product name, a version number, a copyright, a company name, and a short description, and an OK button. So this is just a form like anything else, right? Now I would like to change the text. I'll say about us or about the application. You can say about us, whatever you like, or about form, or about information, or anything that you like. Okay, so please see that you change the text. And now, if you kind of click on it, these are just normal controls. See, this is a picture box. This is a text box. This is a label, and so on. It's just a template. So you needn't use it. But my aim in showing you how this can be done quickly. If now you go to your project and you go to the properties of your project and go to application and open the assembly information, the information from here will automatically be transferred to that form when you use it. So the advantage is that you don't start from scratch, you don't create your own labels and text boxes and picture boxes, and then you don't put in stuff there. You can kind of use the template called about box, and to populate it with the right information, you can make changes here. So it says, what is the title you want to give it, right? So it's, I don't know, something like coffee sales or something. Let's try that. I think this will go in the text if I'm not mistaken. Or you can say R&R for reading and refreshment. That's not a bad one. That's the name of the company. I think this goes in the here. Now description, you can put whatever description it does. What does it do? If you can look up what we said in the purpose, the user or the customer. I mean, I'm just kind of copying what we did in the purpose. And then what you can add more to it. You can say new orders can be placed and so on. So allows the user to buy coffee in various quantities. What else did we see? The amount due is displayed. The order receipt or something like this. Can be printed or something. We can say or can. Right? So short description. Company, of course, depends upon what you would like to do. I'm just saying AKC, private limited. The product, I don't know where the product information was. Where was it? Program. Oh, I can't leave this. I don't know where the product information is. We can leave the copyright. Doesn't really matter. Trademark is not important and so on. I don't know where the product information goes. I'll just say coffee sales and see where it goes. I forget what the labels were. So you kind of fill them up here and we'll see where they go. So these are making sense. Description company, I remember. I can't remember where the product had gone. Copyright is here. You can give a trademark if you want, right? And you will notice So this, save this. And of course, you won't see it right now because, okay, so we had a product name is there where it will go. Okay, so product name, version, copyright, and company name and description. Okay, so product name. So coffee sales was okay. It's not a bad name. It won't come up here right now. It will when the form is displayed. It would be nice to see it and see everything is okay, but it doesn't come up here. Okay, so my about form is ready. Now since my two forms are ready, I'll come back and again do more stuff, but I want to show you the about now. So if you now go to your main form back, which was your form coffee, this one, there it is. So you have an about here and you also have an about in your context menu. Doesn't matter, double click any one of them. Okay, so what do you want to do now? In the about, click, and again, it just took the name and it is coming up with warning saying that you're not using Pascal naming convention because of this. What do I want to do? I want the form to show on the screen. That's it, right? So take your form, about, create an object about of it. And there was an OK button on it, wasn't it there? I think there was. So take your about form and say show, not show dialog, because you have to respond to it. Right? I'll do the same for my context menu also, but without repeating it. Right? So all I'm doing is create a new object of the form and display it on the screen. And there is an OK button there. Right? You'll say what happens on OK if you go to your about form here and you kind of double click. So there is an OK button already here. Again, it depends on what you've created. But by default, there is the OK button here. So here in this OK button, I'll say this dot close. Right? So again, if you don't want to use the form about template entirely, you create your own form, you put your own stuff, you put your own buttons, whatever you like, and then you manipulate. Okay? However you want. So I just wanted to show you that the template was available, and then also wanted to show you the assembly information connection automatically. So if you kind of notice how it has done here, look at now, since we are in the file, you can see it, what's happening. It's saying I'm going to format it. I'm going to take the assembly title. I'm in the label version. I'm going to take the version and I'm going to show you the version. In the copyright, I'm going to show you whatever is in the assembly copyright. In the company name, whatever is in the assembly company name, and so on. So it is picking up all information from your assembly information. Okay, that's what it is doing. Before we test it, come back to your design again, and in your context menu strip, in your about, please do that connection also. So go to its events and in its click method, choose the same TSMI about. So now the about of your menu item and the about of your context menu will behave the same, right? That's again event hand sharing. Okay, so let's try it now. So let's try it. So the splash screen, hopefully I put it back to normal. Did I say it was enabled or disabled? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Okay, go. Help, right? And about. Oh, we forgot to put it in the center of the screen, which is okay, like you should. And there it is. So coffee sales was the product name. That was the version number. I didn't change it. There was a version field there, which you could. The copyright is just saying copyright at 2017 is what I did in the copyright. And this is coming. And this application allows the user to buy coffee in various quantities. The order receipt is displayed. And of course, this picture is not a good picture. We would replace it by an image which is more appropriate. Right? And again, we should be doing a few things to it. I don't see a maximize or a minimize button. It was a template. I didn't change it. I don't see that it can be changed in size. So I didn't have to bother about that. If you want, you can remove this. Oh, the about here is coming in the, where was this? I think this was in the title. So I don't even have to make a change in the text. The title comes from the assembly information. Right? So now the only thing that I would like to do is you can press the OK button or the cross. Both will work. You can remove the OK button. The user can only use the cross, whatever it is. And this exit button should also work. And the only change we have to do in that about form is, where are you? Maybe I should just kind of close. Center screen. Start position. PQRST. MNO. Oh, not. Oh, I am on the OK button. Okay. Now on the form, yeah. So center parent. Why isn't it coming at the center parent then? Center parent means the parent, the parent's form's parent. And who's the form's parent? I opened it up in the coffee shop. So why is it coming on the left-hand side? So it's assuming that the parent is the main window. No, it's not even the main window. It's not looking centering anywhere. That's strange. It automatic, its position is center parent. I can do center screen and it will get it in the center because my other form is in the center, but center parent should work. Center parent means please show this form in the center of the parent form. And the parent form is where you created the form. Logically, it should just come in the center. This will, of course, work because of how I have placed it, but the center parent was its default position, and it wasn't working there. Well, that's it. So this information is not making any sense. So I thought this is what the title would be. The text, the title here is coming from the title in the assembly information. You can leave it empty here. Right, I just changed it. I didn't want the form about, but that's coming from the title. So even this is not required. So that's your form about. Okay, so about done. Okay, now let's come to, we can close these. This is the form copy. We can close this. We can close this. We can, we'll keep this. We'll close this. Anything else? We can close this. And we can close the program.cs and the designer. Okay, there we are. Now let's write the logic, right? So you've seen how to create forms. I still have to create a summary form for your information because you could create a new button also if you like, just because we have a button for everything. Unfortunately, that's what we have, so we'll keep it. So I'll create a new button here. I'll call it summary. Okay, so create a new button. And again, maybe this is an overkill that you have a button. You also have it in menu items and everywhere, but just because I had it, I didn't want to remove it. You can take that button, place it kind of here. We'll give it the same size or whatever when time comes. We'll change its name to summary button. And we'll put summary on top of it and seeing what I have not used before. I haven't used an S before, and we'll make it and summary. What else? The name of the button, BTN summary. What else? Oh, the size. The size of new order was 408,558. 408,558. That's strange. That's not what this size is. 408,558. Oh, come on. Oh, that's why. Thank you. Thank you. I'm saying, why is it moving? How silly can that be? 408,558. Okay, so I was checking the location also. There also I'm checking the location, and here also I'm checking the location. I need a break. Okay, so 129. How logically one should see, is that making sense? No, it is not. And again, you can always, if you know that, you can always take these buttons and say make vertical or horizontal spacing equal, whatever you've said. Okay, so it's kind of, you have to just find it. So make horizontal, no, yes, horizontal spacing equal. Horizontal, yes, there it is. Uh-oh. So that's why it's always a good idea to start where you want them, right? Okay, so I have a summary here and I also have a summary there. Now I want to do the summary information. Now, since the about form and the splash screen were not a big deal at all, you were not sharing anything with the form at all. But now, when I am doing all my calculations in my coffee shop form, in that code, and I want to transfer that information, so this is what I want to do. When I click on summary, I want a new form to come up, which is showing me the summary information. And the summary information is not this amount due for a particular user. I'll keep a summary information about maybe how many customers came, number of customers the whole day, or what was the total sale of the whole day, what was the average sale, and so on. Something more summary than just the user, which means that definitely that I'll have to pass information from one form to the other. So in Splash and About, there was nothing, but here I have to. So to create a summary form, we'll do the same thing. So we'll just do project, add a Windows form, create a normal summary form, call it whatever you like. I'll stick with form summary. Okay, and we'll do the normal that we do usually. Again, where do you want to show it? And I'm going to try the parent here. I'm going to try the parent, center parent, because it must work. Center parent simply says that you come in the center of the parent. Here I'll change my title, the text, to summary. Or you can kind of add more to it, summary information. The name of the form has already been changed. We already did it there, so that's right. Again, we'll do the usual. We'll make it a form border style of fixed. We'll remove the maximize button. You can even remove the minimize if you want, but that's up to you. It entirely depends upon you. So the maximize button is false. You can keep the cross and the minimize if you like. It really, it's how you want to show it to. In splash screen, they don't make sense at all. You don't close a splash screen. You don't minimize or maximize a splash screen. So it makes no sense putting these controls. So therefore, I had that control box. I said I don't want to show the control box. But again, in other forms, you can decide according to how you want. In the about one, you can remove the minimize and the maximize, or if you want, it's really up to you, and keep the cross and whatever. Now, in the about form, I had closed my form, if you remember. I said when the user goes OK, you close the form. Another option of not closing but hiding the form, you can use the hide method. The difference between the two. The close form closes it from display and also kills the object. So the object is no longer available, right? That's what happens, it's gone. In hide form, the form is hidden from display, but the object still exists. The garbage collector will not take away that object. So there is a difference between closing a form and hiding a form. You'll say the advantage. The advantage is that if the about was like a manual, there was a lot of information on the about which the user had to go back and kind of check, then you can hide it. So the next time when the user clicks on it, the time to create a new form and to load it is kind of, saved, and the form which is hidden from view comes back on the screen. So instead of closing the about form, you can, if you like, also hide a form. And the difference, as the name suggests, is the close will remove it from display and remove it from memory. For you can't, like, it's gone. In the other case, the form is removed from display, but the form object still exists. Your form, the about object still exists in memory. It's not collected by the garbage collector whenever. It exists. So when you go back and you click on it and you say, show me the form again, it doesn't load the form. It just activates the form. So instead of load, there is another activate event that goes with the form. So if the form is loaded for the first time, it calls load. But if it is already in memory and you had hidden it, it was activated. So the form itself has some events like load, activate, deactivate, and so on. And these kind of work with when you close a form or you hide a form. So hide is basically deactivating it, and then it gets activated again when you show it. Right? When you close a form, it's just closed. So the form closed event takes place. So these are events that are associated. You should be aware of them depending upon how you need them. So usually if about was more like a manual, for me, the about was just like showing nothing. There was not much. But if about was more like a manual, you wouldn't like to close it and load it again every time the user goes and looks at it. That's what help is about, right? You just keep it. You don't close it. You can minimize it if you want. Then you don't close the form, but you hide it. So there is a hide method instead of a close method. Okay, so on the summary information, we'll just complete this and then I'll give you a break. I'll just put a few things. So I said maximize box is false. Take your usual, put your usual labels and everything. I'm just kind of creating a summary form here. In the label, I'll put a text. I'm saying sales summary information. Since it is a heading, you needn't put your name on it, but of course you can. Since it is a heading, I will make it a little bold, a little bigger, and do an OK. And then we'll place it in the center. Right? I think it should be OK. I don't need much. I need 3. I should be OK. Take 3 more labels and 3 text boxes, just because for output. So 3 more labels and 3 text boxes, TTT, MNOPQRST. Normal text boxes. Okay, so we'll kind of move it, and then I'll center them and all that. So 3 should be more than enough. The labels, just however you want to do it, with the pink or the blue, whatever you like. The pink is with the text and the blue is with the size, with the control there, right? We can, if you like, and we will. You can take all of these 3 together and increase their size. Oops. Kind of make it kind of go this way. We also, since we are at it, we'll also make its read-only property true and tab stop as false, because these are output boxes. If you want to make them multi-line, sure. Entirely depends on you. I think this is good enough, but if you want to, right? So those are the 3. And we can, what else? Okay, now labels. So in labels, oh, we'll have to change the names. I will do that. Number of customers serviced. Again, if you want to do an auto size or whatever. Total sales amount. You can kind of do it here too. And the last one is average sales amount. Again, you can resize it, you can right align it, whatever, however you like it. I'm just kind of doing it something that looks okay to me. They look okay, but you never know. So we'll kind of take them. Maybe I'll have to do them. I'm not sure. Let's double check and say vertical spacing, horizontal, no, vertical in this case. Make vertical, align middles, increase, align, make vertical spacing equal. Okay, so they are behaving a different way because one is label and one is a text. So you'll have to do just them separately. That's all. However you want it. I was trying if I could do them together. Seems like I cannot. Okay, right. So 3 labels created, 3 text boxes created, read-only property is true. Oh, the names. These names are important. Okay, so let's call them. What is it showing? Customers. So text customer, a number of customers. I don't know. Something that makes sense. I'm going to call it number of customers. Second one, total sales. Text total sales. You'll have to keep them in mind, or whatever, whenever you use it, just see what they are. And the third one, total average sales. Just keep whatever, just keep, I've called them average sales. I've called them total sales, unless I've called it something there too. And then number of customers, right? We will need these text boxes because, I hope I haven't done a 0. No, I will need these text boxes because I want to put values into them. So labels I'm not changing names of because they're useless for me. But for the text boxes, I will have to put values. Now, the main difference of this form from the other forms you've just created, the values that need to come here are calculated in the other form. So all your calculations are being done there. That's the form with which the user is interacting. So when the user clicks on the summary form, this form should come up, right? So the form is ready, except that we haven't yet coded how to go ahead with it. So again, I won't try this. I'll just say center horizontally, and then we'll also say center vertically. I won't do it because I have this. So again, don't try things yourself because it's just easy to use what is available. Okay. So now what I have to do with this summary form is go back to the code here and double click on your summary form. And what do we have to do? We have to create an object of that summary form. There it is. Call it whatever you like. And show it on the screen. Show dialog. Is the user responding? Was there an, oh, I didn't create an OK button. So maybe we should create an OK button. It will create an OK button. Otherwise, how will the user kind of come back if I don't have a response? I mean, there is the cross always. You always have the cross, but you don't depend upon it. So just put another button on it, the OK button. So let's say OK on it. You can make whatever you like as your shorthand key. And we'll call it the button OK. And of course, all we have to do in this button OK is we want to close this form. And again, you could hide it, right? So you have the option of hiding the form. It saves time. Not for you necessarily, but so if you kind of go H, you will see that there is a hide method also, right? So hiding, the difference again, as I said, is it's still in memory. It won't be reloaded every time, right? That's the difference. So if you would like to, sure, we can keep it hide. Because the user may like to see the summary maybe after every few minutes, I don't know, an hour. Though again, as I said, it depends on what you want to do. Or the owner may only like to see the summary once at the end of the day. So it doesn't make sense hiding it, makes more sense closing it. Just so that you know, okay? So there is a hide method available. So how you decide, do I hide it or close it, depends upon the use of your form, right? Depends upon the use of the form. So if there is more like a manual and so on, you would like to keep it open. If it is just a summary information, you would like to close it, right? So you can make a change. You can put hide there and you can put close here, whatever you like. There. So it's a multi-form project. The splash screen, I am forcing it to come up for 5 seconds when it starts. The about form will come up when you choose to show the about information. And all those forms, you just complete them as you want by images and whatever. If you've forgotten how to project, it is as simple as going here and then going to your resources, and in resources you want to add a resource and you will add an existing file. That is one way. I was just trying to see where do I have my images, and I couldn't find them, which I was hoping was somewhere in your second, but I don't know why can't I find them. It should be inside here. Oh, there, now I see it, resources. So maybe the import is not what it is. So do I have a coffee one? Clothing, equipment, juice? No, I don't. So I need something for a coffee because it's a coffee shop. You could pick up any picture that you like that. But this is how you add a picture, and then you can show that image in your wherever you want, in your splash screens, in your about boxes, and so on. And then we learned how to create a summary form. Again, nothing very new in it at all. It is just a normal form. But the main concept now is how do I link, or how do I make one form talk to the other? So all I have to do is calculate here and pass it to the other form, right? So I'll use some new variables, and I'll use a specifier that will allow me to share variables in the same project in different forms, right? We have private, we have public. I can't make it private. I don't want to make it public. I could have protected, and protected means that the variables can be used in the parent and the children form. But I mean, extended classes, this is not a extended classes. There's a difference between a form, just a form that I've created, or a class that inherits. And there is a fourth access specified in C#, which is called internal. And internal means that the variable can be used in the same assembly. And assembly in our case is when you compile your code, it goes into an assembly, right? So for us, it would be in all the forms in this particular project. Okay, so that's what we will do. We'll learn internal. So we'll take a break of 20 minutes, please. We'll come back and we will complete this. So I'll start again at 40, okay? And I'll put this on GitHub. Oh God, 29 changes, okay. Yes.
Sorry if this is erratic behavior, but I would like to leave the class and continue working on the in-class assignment 3.
It's up to you. Entirely up to you.
this is going to be on GitHub, right?
Yes, it will be.
All I know is that I have some fragments, and I'll look at the GitHub repository and try to fix them, but I think the main concern is getting a class assignment region.
That's up to you if you want to go and work
I
on
just
it.
wanted to thank you for the class.
Yeah, I know. How would you say?
Oh, there is a splash screen class also, guys. There is a class called splash screen also. Okay, so I'll look at it and see how it is, right?
क्या देखना है?
GitHub पे चढ़ाता
क्या कर रहे हो?
फॉर्म बोर्ड का टाइप शीट बोर्ड वाला फॉर्म का टाइप शीट अबाउट वाला फॉर्म बोर्ड के टाइप टच करना
जो फॉर्म का नाम रखा हुआ फॉर्म अबाउट का नाम की रखा है पर अबाउट ज्यादा डिस्टेंस होना कोई भी रहते भी डिस्टेंस जो मर्जी रहते चलो यार I know I did the same thing but and then
new form
dot type
new form
new form new form new form FRM तो जितना जावा की करी दिया वही सेव ही करना एंटर ना करके दिया
देखो भाई फ्रंट एंड बैक कैमरा
dot
form board
भाई एक का जैसे Let's change एक दो बाकी लोग करते रहेंगे
जमा ग्राउंड तो प्रकार में चेक करेगा एक भी लाइन
This says multi-form project.
మొత్తం ఒకే database अपनी क्लास से आओ चार सीरीज सेट होगी शामन तो भी करा दिया
बस वही की जनरल की क्लास में
सब तो फालतू बात हो जाती है
2 साल वेट कर रहे थे 2 साल हो गए
बहुत ज्यादा मैं वेट रहा about dot show about ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੰਸਟੈਂਸ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਵਾ
बहुत ठंडा यार सर अपने नाम की क्लास में सही होगा इधर तो आ रहा
ਚੱਲਿਆ
वो ठीक है पर आप अंदर क्यों होना चाहिए आपके बच्चे सारे कोई आएगा
ਕੀ ਉਹ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਉਹ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਦਾ ਅੰਡੂ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਦਾ ਅੱਛਾ ਤੇ ਦਾ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਯਾਰ ਉਹ ਗਿਟਹਬ ਤੇ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਯਾਰ
Oh, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
कैसे जा इसलिए बैठा हूँ ना इन क्लास असाइनमेंट के लिए बस नाम रजिस्टर हो जाए इसलिए बैठा हूँ मैं आते ही क्लास से आधे आधे इन क्लास के लिए बस नाम रजिस्टर हो जाए इसलिए बैठा हूँ
So all you can do is create this.
इसको सुनकर करती हूँ
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like size.
एक टेबल पे एक रो बनाने का एक टेबल और एक रो बनाने
And I think they're module private. Yeah, because there's a spot she says module. You put those in module barriers, like all calculations. Because you never use it. I don't break my time. Don't save it, don't display it.
Yeah.
You just can't have it. Although I just put like the proper message in there.
Yeah, exactly, right.
But then like when I think of it, I'm just like, I just do that for every.
Yeah, I think that's what
Instead of having like nasty.
Yeah, because otherwise, I will be, yeah, it's not all running.
And then you
Right, that's all it is. Yeah. Get throwing Crawford section.
Just make you make a new exception. Book sale exception. Like if you're in class, book sale exception, and then just use that. I made it work. Actually, what I wrote was exactly what the regulating thing was like invalid. Well, wrote, and then that actually turned out to be format.
I know, you told me the story.
Oh, yeah.
Not one quarter.
Like I want to navigate through it.
Yeah. Beautiful bombshell. Who else could? All words. What if you weren't there? You don't know the story.
There's no way you can.
I just have a word in that space.
Yeah, you have to have that time. You have to go. It's so funny how that.
So I was looking at a few things here. There's also a class called splash screen. So I'll look into that too. But there's also how to build splash screen, and maybe I'll get something out of it and I'll let you know. Okay, if there is anything, because it makes sense that splash screen should come and go automatically, depending upon while your application is being loaded. I'm only forcing it because otherwise it won't show for me. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Let's come back to where we were. So as I said, so our forms are kind of ready. And again, you can neaten them up. I'll leave it to you. But now the concept of how do you transfer information from one form to the other, right? So guys, please, as I was mentioning, so everything is on GitHub again. Not again, I mean, I've put everything we did till now on GitHub. Okay, so let's start by doing a few things. So now since variables have to be shared amongst different forms in the same project, there are a couple of ways of doing it, of which, of course, one is worse than the other. You could make your variables public, and then public says they can be used anywhere, right? So the scope is public, and you can use it in this form also, and you can use it in your form summary also. Not the best solution, of course. We don't make data public like this. That's the first principle of object-oriented programming, that data must be hidden, right? So the second option is then how do we share variables? And again, there are a few options. You could do a protected if you like, and you could do a internal if you like. Now with protected, the specified protected says that you can use the variable in the present class and classes that have inherited from that class. Now I'm not doing inheritance here. Like my summary form is not inheriting from my main form. It's not an inheritance that I'm looking for here. So protected is also out. The third option, there are two more actually. The third option is internal, right? And there is an internal protected also. So we'll do it when we do inheritance, when we do inheritance, but that's a combination. So internal means in the same assembly. And now what is this assembly? Assembly means that all forms that are in the same project, when you compile your code and you say build all, they all are in the same assembly. Compiled code is kind of in the same assembly. If you can, in a layman language, that's what it is. The word assembly is coming from, it was used in C language, and there is from where it is coming. So it's called the assembly. Assembly is a different language altogether. I'm not talking about assembly language. I'm talking about compiled version, right? So that's what I'm talking about. So internal says that if you would like to share variables in the same assembly, I won't say project, I'll say assembly, then you say that those variables are internal, right? So they are kind of private plus public, kind of, you know what I mean? Like it's not outside the assembly, but it's not only two. a particular form. So we'll take a couple of internal variables here. Why? Because I need them in this form also and another form also. Now, with internal, the sharing is okay, but if you would like to use the variable name with the class, you can add static to it. So a static variable is a variable that you can use with the class name. So I can use it with form coffee shop. Else, what you will have to do is to share it in the other summary form, you'll have to create an object of form coffee shop and use it, which is a little bit of like overwhelming, too much. Like, I can do it. It's not necessary to make it static, but then every time I have to use a variable of this form, it is declared in this form, right? In this class, if I have to use it in another class, I'll have to create an object of form coffee shop and then say object name dot the name of the variable. So to avoid that, I've made this variable also static. So internal means sharing in the same assembly, but that doesn't mean you can just share it by name. You have to share it by object name dot the variable name. So to avoid creating an unnecessary object just for the heck of it, I'll make it static. And now I can say form coffee shop dot and the name of my variable. So I'm going to use two of them for the grand total as I keep my totaling, right? So I have, oh, there was one here with which we didn't use last time and we don't need it. So I'll remove it from here. So I have a total amount. The total amount is per user, right? Remember, this is, if you kind of think about it, this is the total amount. So this is subtotal, tax, and total. What I'm talking about here is a grand total. So the grand total is something that will accumulate the totals for every customer. And I will be calculating an average value. Average amount. What should I call it? Average amount. You can leave it at average. You don't have to say average amount. I mean, everything was an amount. So, oh, wrong place. There it is, right? I also need to count my number of customers. Remember, I said number of customers in my summary form. So again, I'll declare another internal variable. Another internal variable that is static, just for the reason of using it with class name. And there's nothing wrong in it. Class name simply says that it can be used in all the objects, and it makes sense. Though for us, the application will not be, it could be running on different machines in the same shop. So it's just saying different objects are created. And this will be an integer. Again, I could even take a byte. But byte is 255. I could take an unsigned byte. 255 customers in a day. I think it looks a little less. Maybe a short integer. 255 is not a big number for a coffee shop, right? Okay, so you could take an unsigned short. So the unsigned short, I think, was USHRORT. There it is. So we'll just take an unsigned short. I mean, I don't have to, but again, we always try to use variables that make more sense. Why unsigned? Because number of customers can never be negative. And short, because short is a wide range. It will give you 3 to 767. More than enough in a day, depending upon, are you keeping summary for a day or a month or a year? I mean, year is too much. Maybe a week, whatever it is. Then the short may not do. I'm just thinking one day. Okay, and then we can call it whatever you like. I'll call it customer count. And again, by default, all these variables that you declare at module level are initialized to 0. So if you want to, you could, but by default, they're initialized to 0. Right? So these are the two internal variables that I'm going to use. And all I have to now do is in my other form, excuse me, I can simply use them as form coffee shop dot grand total or dot customer count or whatever. That's internal. So no private won't work, of course, you know, and I don't want to make them public. Okay, now let's look at the next few things. So since I have the code and I took a print because it was easy for me, I'll kind of go as I have it. We'll have to do a few things. I'll do the easier things first, maybe. It's just easy to do the easier things first. Okay, so since you also have those, load is, okay, load. Right, so since you have a button clear also, and now we since have a TSMI clear also. Because my buttons are being duplicated, right? So I know where to kind of look for them. So there was a TSMI new order also. Where was it? It was called TMS. What did we call it? Didn't I change its name? New order. Maybe I forgot to change its name. Yep, that's why. That's why it's not coming up. So there it is, TSMI new order. Did I change the summary? Yep, the exit. Yes. Okay, so just the new order. Okay, so TSMI. Now it won't show me control spacebar. There it is, dot enable. So you can always do the control spacebar to complete it. Like mine was completing because I had that error before, and make it false. Okay, right? Just because I have duplicates. So I'm just, since these, as I said, these are small things that should be okay. And then we'll have to do something in clear also, because clear had all those about all this stuff about. There it is here. Okay, so as quantity and amount, these are okay. Where else can we have that clear input? So nothing in clear. Quantity is clear, item is clear. Buttons were being enabled. Oh, they were being enabled in new order. They were being enabled in new order. There it is. Yep, there it is. Here. Right. So if the user says, yes, I want to give a new order. So we were doing a clear input. Anywhere, wherever you have a button, you have to add the TSMI clear. That's the kind of way of looking at it, and make it enabled as false. And wherever you have here, go button, instead of button, go TSMI new order, and make its enabled property as false. I'm just copying it. I'm not even thinking, because I'm hoping what we did last week was okay. So whatever is false or true, I'm just copying it. Okay, so that's done in click. In click, new order button click. I think we're okay, right? Okay. Where else? Do you see anything? Check out. I think this is okay. Where else did we do enables and disables? It's not helping me in the sense that I was better off. I did this. Okay, let's come to calculate now. If we see it anywhere, I'll come back. Now to the main thing where we have to do our calculations. Here, this is where I was doing my calculations. Okay, now when do these calculations needed to be added to the summary information? You tell me, when do I need to add the totals to the summary? Which button? Where? Where should I put it? Summary information is gathered when? Like the summary is showing the summary. When does it need to be added? When is the user changing? When is the customer changing? New order. New order. The customer changes at new order. So when the customer changes, all the totals that you have, this total that you have, this total due, you must add it to the grand total and increase the number of customers up by 1. This is where we have to do it, not in calculate. Calculations is not where we add it to summary. We add it to summary when we double click the new order. Okay, so here, so come back. Okay, here. So if the user has said yes, I'm done with my order. So you have to kind of now do a few things here which you weren't doing before, right? So the new things to be done here are, okay, so the user has confirmed yes, and all these are just button. It's not a big deal. I can do it right here just so that we have it here. Okay, so if, okay, now let's take a scenario. Why am I doing an if? Why I thought I'm doing an if? Suppose a customer starts a new order, right? The customer starts but doesn't do anything. Like he puts in a value here, he puts a cappuccino here, and then doesn't do anything, and then just presses the new order. So new order can be pressed wherever and whenever. If there is something in the total amount, only then must I add it to my accumulated amount. So you just can't assume that, oh, a new order button was pressed, I just take the total and add it. You only add it if there is something. So again, this just takes a little time, and I must have tested it before you make it like foolproof. So you never start always from the right track. You start and then you add changes as I go on. So I must have thought about it when I was doing my prep, and that's why I remember that I should check it. So the variable that was called, so just so that you know what am I doing here, I'm accumulating the, I don't know, you could call it summary or something for summary information. Okay, so if the variable is called for your information total amount is greater than 0, so that kind of takes care that I don't just add an amount. I mean, I don't do it if it is pressed somewhere out of place. Okay, so if it is greater than 0, all you have to take your increment your customer count, which was called customer count, right, and take your total and add it to your grand total. And it was called total amount, if I'm not mistaken. There it is. So increment your customer amount up by 1. Now you'll say, what is its initial value? Don't forget, all module level variables start with 0. So I can do this because it starts with a 0, and I can do this because grand total to begin with is 0. So whenever you see an assignment statement, please double check that is it being, so when you say plus equal, you're saying add the previous value and add to it. You have to be careful that it has a previous value. And for me, it is fine because it is a module level variable. Otherwise, of course, it wouldn't have been. Anything else that I need to do here? So I called it grand total, or I don't know. Did I call it grand total? No, that's the biggest thing if I can remember what I called it. Yes, I did call it grand. Otherwise, it would have given me a squiggly. Okay, there is your summary information. Anything else we need to do? In initialization, subtotal is 0, total amount is 0. No, nothing here, right? Nothing here. We don't have to initialize any of these fields to 0. Yep, it is fine. Okay, I think it is okay. Now, what else am I missing? In calculate, anything in calculate? No. Necessarily, no, nothing in calculate, right? In calculate already, this one's, okay, please do this. This is not to calculations, this is just making off and ons, right? This is just for that. So what was it? Make it true because my button is true. And take your new order button and make it true because the button is true. Again, we've put this already to test, so we know that we are not wrong. Okay. Okay, so we took the quantity here. So I've already given you here just in case. I mean, I'll show it to you. You can also do it this way. What was it called? Try parse. I think, yeah, I think so. Just so that you know, I will do another example with it, but I see that some students start using it as soon as they, maybe from some other language. So I'm just showing you. So this was an int. You can use the try parse method if you want. And what happens in try parse is, I'll show you, I'll kind of write it first and then tell you. Take your text quantity, text property, and there is a second variable, and notice how it is used. So you can use either one of them, all three. Oh, what isn't it like? Oh, I'm missing out. Thank you. Yep, right. The reserved word out is missing. Thank you. Now let's just because you're seeing it, I'll show you what it means. The try parse and the parse method are no different from their utility, but their syntax is a little different. The try parse will return a true value, and then instead of like, I mean, it returns a true, then you can say if true or whatever, like if it was fine, if result. It returns a true value if it was able to convert the quantity text value into a valid integer. Quantity is a valid integer. Now, what is the meaning of this out in front of it? You will see that when we do more, I'll tell you, but there are two ways. One is called out, and we could have another parameter called reference. Out, as the name suggests, simply says this is the output variable. So the try parse requires you, you are not writing this method, it requires you to give a second parameter, put out in front of it, and what it says is the value that will be returned is called quantity. So in a sense, why did I use quantity here? Because that's the variable I was using here. Therefore, I called it quantity. So out has to be put. Out simply means a variable that will be calculated in the method and returned from the method. So initially, it may have no value at all. It may have garbage. It returns it. Ref is a little different. Ref says something will go in and something will come out. So it can change. But out says, out in front of a parameter says, it will be calculated in the method and it will be returned if the value of result is true. So before doing this now, if I was using this option, I will have to say if result is true, then I will go forward. Right? Because result is only true if it was successfully able to convert text quantity which into an int. If not, the result will be false. You don't have to call it a result, you could call it anything, but that's how try parse works. So if you wanted to use this, which you can in your assignments, I'm not like, you can do whatever you like as long as you are meeting the requirements of the assignment. You can use either of the three methods. You can use convert.toInt if you like, the parse method like I've done, or you can use the try parse. But then if I use this, I'll have to add another if statement here because I only want to go further if the result is true. So I find this more convenient. It's just me, saves me an if. I don't have to bother about it, but try parse is absolutely correct. So if you see it somewhere, it works, like it's perfectly fine. So I'll kind of comment it here because I'm not changing my code, but I'll leave it for you here. And you've seen something new which you have never seen in Java, the out specifier, you could call it.
So if you use that pinch try parse, you don't need the quantity equals int.
No, you will use one of these three. Any of these three can be used. By using the first two, the code will not change. But if you use the third one, then I'll have to put an if statement here. If result, then I will do the rest of the job. Right? Of course, because it's not returning. How will I know whether it returned a quantity or not? I can only know by looking at the result. So I'll say if it was true, that means it was successful. Otherwise, definitely it will go to the corresponding catch block on its own. It will go to its catch block. But it's whatever you like. Really doesn't matter. I'm just more in the habit of doing parse, maybe because it was in Java and then transferring into C# is what. But try parse is, many users use it. Many programmers will use it. So I'll keep it there for your information, right? I'll keep it there for your. And maybe if you kind of logically think about it, correct me if I'm wrong, I may not even need an if. Why? Because if I have an error, it will automatically go to the catch block. For the try parse. No, it doesn't?
So it just returns false.
Oh, and then I have to, oh, okay. So there okay. So logically, so it's not, it doesn't work that way. Oh, okay. So that's why maybe I stick to parse then. It converts the string and return value, does not throw any exceptions at all. So what you can do is you can quickly bring your mouse over the method, and if it throws any exceptions, it should say so. Let's see in parse. See here. So parse does throw format exception, which we've caught. It does throw overflow exception, which we have caught. And argument null exception means the argument that was passed to it is null, which, I mean, in our case, it won't be because we've already tested that quantity has, like, it is the same as it being empty, which will be done in format. Okay, thanks for that. So try parse is not throwing any exception. So definitely this code will not work for it. I'll have to use an if, and then in the else, I'll have to kind of check what happened. Okay, so I'll stick to this, but entirely up to you, however you want to do it. This way I can write my try catches and be fine with it. Right? So that is the third way. Okay, so in try, oh, where was I? Okay, here. Do we have to do anything here? No, I don't think so. Right? Because this one was only trying, it was only calculating and displaying the values. The new order adds it. Now this if can be avoided if you like. It can be avoided if you take your tax variable here and always initialize it to 0 here when the method is called. Then you don't have to say else tax is equal to 0. Remember, local variables are not initialized to 0, but you can avoid. It's up to you again. It's just how you code, right? And of course, always code intelligently and correctly. So if you like, you can remove this else. If you automatically, you can remove this if you initialize tax to 0 in your local variables. Then you don't have to do. Then all you say is, if tax is checked, then it is this. The else can be avoided. The local variables do not have an initial value. Okay, like Java, they don't. I think we are good. Okay, so let's now go to our summary. What do we need to do here is the main thing. So what happens here? Right, so once you kind of click on summary, you open the form summary there and you said show it. But of course, it won't show anything till you tell it to show it here. So now I have a button OK here. And I have a constructor here. I have nothing else here. But that's okay. I can do my job in my constructor right here. So I initialize it. And then what do I want to do? I want to load my text boxes with the values. So the first text box was text average sales, number of customers. I mean, that really doesn't matter. And in its text value, you want to take the value that was coming from there, which was, I think, called customer count. Oh, not, you have to say form dot customer count. Now you'll have it, right? And that's an integer. So you'll have to do what? Dot to string. And it's just a number, not a currency sign. So we'll just say to string. This is how you use it. So you're populating the customer text box with the value of customer count, which is an internal variable, an internal static variable in the form coffee shop. Don't forget to do a to string. That's the easiest way. You could always say convert dot to string if you like, right? And of course, I'm not giving any parameters here. I can, if I like, I can say N5. It will show your answer in 5 digits, 0, 0, 0, whatever. So it will always take 5. It will just give the default. And now fill up the rest. Your text, there were more fields. There is total sales. In its text property, you want to do the same thing. You want to go form coffee shop dot grand total something, right? Dot to string. And this, we will use the currency sign. So please be aware that there are other format specifiers, C, N, D, P, F, and you can put a digit with it if you would like to say how many do I want to see it in. And the last one was the, average. We need to calculate the average. Okay, we need to calculate the average. And it may happen that you click on the summary without even a customer being no customer was. Okay, I'll take care of that then. Okay, so average. Here it is just. Remember, whenever average comes into picture, we always have to be careful, does it exist? Okay. So that's what you do in your form summary. But as I was doing average, I thought, what if you click on summary right away as soon as the form opens up? Customer count is 0, right? So we have to be careful now. Okay, so let's go back to so we are missing stuff here. Now in the summary button, where is summary? Maybe it's just easy to go this way. I'll have to do something here. I just can't say show the summary form. I must check if my customer count is greater than 0. Then only it makes sense showing the summary form, right? You could always have shown this in a message box, but I didn't want to this today just because I wanted to do multi-forms. Else, here I can say this, else we'll do the message box.show. Here I can say no customers yet serviced or something. I mean, you can do it either way, wherever you like. I'm just keeping my logic here. And if you remember, the second was your summary information, the title. I could have shown my summary information in a message box. There were only 3 lines. There was not much in my summary, but again, the concept was to show you a multi-form project. And again, if you would like an OK button and like an icon, sure, you can go ahead and do it. So message box buttons dot OK. I have to do this to get the last one, which was an icon. To get the icon, you still have to do the button. So information there, right? And in this one, if it is, I'll have to calculate. So the average is take your grand total and divide it by the customer count. There it is here. This is where you calculate your average. So if I do not do customer count greater than 0 and I say average amount is equal to grand total by customer count, you're going to get an exception, right? Divided by 0 will give you an arithmetic exception. So that's your second option. You can do a try catch here. You can do a try catch, and in the catch you can say there are no customers to, whatever, your message can go in the exception. So it's up to you. It can be done using a try catch. Usually, when do you use a try catch and when do you use an if? Ifs are more like conditions that are only for our application. You know what I mean? Like checking like if it is greater than 0, less than, that kind of stuff. And the exceptions are something that can happen from all kind of calculations also. So, but but we all know that average is dividing by something, and if I cannot do that if the customer count is 0. So I've taken care of it here. I leave it to you. You can use try catch if you like. That's how I am doing it. What else have I forgotten? I can make head or tail out of my own notes because they're not very neat. Anyway, I've thought of something else. I've made a note for myself here, and maybe you can see that since I've made a note of myself. Okay, I've also said here that, so one, there may be no customers and the user has said, show me the summary. That makes complete sense. The other option, what if the customer is in middle of an order and he has not or she has not pressed the new order button? Like, I'm giving an order, I'm right in the middle of an order, and I press the new order out of the blue. I don't say calculate selection, or I don't say clear for next. I mean, as I said, new order can be pressed anytime. So if that is the situation, you think what you want to do. I thought maybe if the user presses new order, it is assumed that the previous order needs to be stopped, like finished. It's a complete order. That's what I took it as. You can take it as whatever you want. So I'm making this point. I'm just bringing this point to you because while I was testing the application, I thought, what if I press the summary out of the blue? Like, no, I may not just follow the procedure. I may not say, oh, now I finished my order. Now I'm going to a new order button. Now I'll press it. So if you don't follow it, so again, just so that you have it, customer is in the middle of an order. So again, these things will come to you when you start testing your output. So again, as I said, input validation is very important, but also checking output is also very important. So if the customer is in the middle of the order, how will you know customer is in the middle of an order? What could you check? How will you know customer is in the middle of the order? That means everything is not clean. There is something in the amount, that something is going on. How will you know? Which field will help you know that the customer is in the middle of an order? There will be something in the total amount, right? He may have not done calculate selection. He may have just taken 2 and may have third quantities here. It could be anything. So for me, I thought that if I check that if the total amount, there was that variable total amount. Yep, there it is. If that is greater than 0, that means the user is in the middle of a order. Now you have a few options. Like, you could say, I'll just kind of neglect it, that no, you won't be able to show the summary. I'll say you can't see the summary. Or there is a better way of what I thought. I said, I will make I'll call this method. I'll make the click method. I'll assume that the user wanted to do a button order. Why? Because there is a question there. Do you want to finish this order or not? So that way the user has the option. I'm not saying, oh, you did a wrong thing or you couldn't do it, and I'll just assume that's what you wanted to do. I'll kind of, we can say greater than 0 or not equal to 0, whatever works. You can make this click for the user, and you say, what do I pass it? You pass these parameters that are coming to you, because that's all it needs. Who's the sender and what are the arguments? So that's how I thought of looking at it. I said, if the user presses the summary button in between an order, I'm kind of assuming that the button order click is done, new button order. Why? Because there the user is asked, are you sure you want to end your order? So that is the way I saw it. The rest I leave it to you. Again, you can make your own choice. So the application, what needs to be done can be dependent upon what your client says. I just choose this. But again, I'm thinking of what can happen and what cannot happen. And you have to think the same way. So if you come up with something else, please let me know, right? What about equal to 0? No, I only have to do the new order button if it is greater than 0. Equal to 0 means nothing was taken yet, right? I think so. Equal to 0 means he hasn't done the new calculate yet. Yep, he can always do a no. Okay, so that should work. So again, this is not coming as the first time I wrote it. It's when you test it and you say, oh, this is not giving the right result, or this is running into an exception. That's where you have to think. Okay, what do you do of the last order? So the question is asked, the user says yes or no, and then you know, oh, the summary is right or wrong. Okay. Okay. Now, lastly, so hopefully this will work. Let's give it a go. So logically, mathematically, it should work. So we'll take easy answers and then go from there. So my splash screen is very untidy and very unwelcoming. Please see, when you create one, it is better. Okay. Okay. So we'll give a quantity of 1. We'll do a cappuccino and we'll do a calculate selection, and that's $2. And I'll say summary out of the blue, right in between. I didn't do a new order. And it will say, are you sure you want to place a new order? That's the question it asked. And if I say yes, then see, summary is not in the center. I did a center parent. So something is not working here for sales again. So what is center parent then? That's the default. When it goes from the left, it's the default. So if I said yes, I think I said I want to finish my order. So my order was counted. So it became 1. I did $2 and my average amount is $2. You close this. Now we'll try another one. We'll take a 2. We'll go cappuccino. We'll go calculate selection, and I'll say summary, and I'll say no. Are you want to place a new order? No. Then it will only show me the summary of the previous orders. Okay, so I'm still in an order and the summary doesn't include it. So that also looks okay. So I'm still here. So if I want to say clear for next item, I'm the same user. I'm the same customer. I can again go 1. I can take an espresso. I can do a calculate selection, and that's $6.25. Again, if I go summary and I say yes, then it shows you $6.25 and $2 of the previous one. I'm hoping the average is correct. And that's what it is. Right? So the summary is working. And of course, the previous one was working before. So summary anyway will work. So if I start fresh, and no customers have yet been taken care of. Oh, Anju's Chawla, C is small, H is capital. And I go summary, it should come up saying no customers yet, serviced yet, no summary information to display. I chose to show this in a dialog box because, it doesn't make sense to create a form for it. So you could have shown your summary information in a dialog box. My choice here was to show it in a form. Okay, so that takes care of it. Now the only thing that is left is this, and there is a little kind of two things. So we've done everything. I think we've taken care of everything. Everything must work. About should work. Now the font and the color. Okay, now what do I want to do in font? Usually what happens in font, when you choose a font, the output that is shown to you, its font changes, or whatever you want the font to be, that's what it does. So what I want to do here is I want to show a font dialog box. I don't want to ask a question from the user, which is the new font, what is your size? That's ridiculous, right? So I'll show a font dialog box and I'll ask the user to choose whatever. I'll take those settings and I'll display my output in that particular font. Same concept with color. So to do that, before I can do that, please choose a font dialog component and a color dialog component, 2 of them, and put them in your component tray. Not put them, they will come in your component tray, right? So there is something called font dialog 1. It will be under font dialogs also. My all windows form was open and that's why I used it, but they will be under font, under your dialogs also. Where is it? There, they'll be here too, right? So you are opening a font dialog and a color dialog box. So if you notice, there are others. You can use a save file dialog, open file dialog, and we'll come to it when we use it. So please see that you have these 2 components in your tray. If you kind of very roughly will look at it, if you look at the properties of your font dialog 1, you can set the font right here. You can set a default font right here. But the aim is that I ask the user to select it and then do it. But if you want to do some fonts, you'll say, oh, this is my default. If the user does a cancel, remember the user can always cancel a font dialog box, then this is what will remain. So you can set it. Right now it is set at its usual Microsoft sans serif, whatever, 7.8, whatever, right? Now, and similarly for color, it is set to, I think it's set to black. There it is. And again, if you want a different default color to start with, sure. Okay, now what do I want to do when I click on color and font, both? I'll just take both of them. Okay, here. So I'll show the font dialog box, right? I want to show the font dialog box and I will ask the user to select one and then we'll go from there. I think that's all we want to do. I haven't written my comments today, guys, but sorry about that. Just want to finish all of this. So it allows the user to select a font for the output text. That's its use, right? That's what it does. Like don't and don't. Okay, so we have a font one dialog 1 object. All we will have to do is show it and then take the input from the user. Okay, so that was called There it is. There it is. Right? So show it to the user. As easy as that, nothing else. So it's already there. And again, you can keep writing notes for yourself if you want. Now, if you want to save the font, sure, but you can actually directly do it. So what were your 3 output boxes? Something to do with text. So text item, yep, you can do that. And it's text, oh, not it's text, font property, 4 color. There it is, 4 color. So set its 4 color property to, what am I doing? Font. I'm doing the font here, not the color here. Take the font and set it to, now, as I said, you could write it in a, like it's just more space. Maybe I'll just take a variable. That way I'm showing you a different class also. And how do you, font dialog 1 dot, right? So you're basically going to select the font that was chosen by the user, and it is called font. There it is. So putting it in a variable was not necessary at all. You could have taken the whole thing here. It just makes it easy for me. I can say selected font. You could have said the whole thing. You could have said font dialog 1 font. It's up to you. Just showing you that this is a local variable. So take all your 3 text boxes, item amount done, not quantity, subtotal, or the 3 boxes, whatever you want. I'm only doing output. You can do input also if you like. Before this, you'll say, what if the user doesn't change the font? Like you can, if you like, you can do this. You can take its default font and then, so what have I done here in a sense? I've kind of taken its default font if the user does a cancel here. Right? So if the user does a cancel, I have at least saved something in my selected font, which is its default font. So user can do a cancel, guys. You always can do a cancel. So if it does a cancel, then what font do I use? I automatically use the font that is in the property of your font dialog 1, which is black, which is sans serif 7.8. So if you change it there, it will automatically change here. So that way I'm kind of safe. Even if you do a cancel, who cares? So subtotal, item amount, tax, that's your third one. And that's your fourth one. And the fourth one is total. It's font. There, as easy as that. Font is changed. So this one, by doing this, I have kind of saved the value in the font property here. So that even if the user does a cancel, I still have some value associated with it. Right? Otherwise, I think if I just say font dialog 1 dot show dialog dot font and the user does a cancel, which font is selected? So this way I'm safe. Right? So I've saved the previous value. Previous means the default value. This is the default, whatever you've set it in the designer. And if I had used font dialog 1 dot show dialog dot font and the user does a cancel, then does it automatically take the default? I'm not sure. So this way I know I'm sure. I can always double check. And you can double check too. So this should work. So it's a different font. Give it a go very quickly and then we'll do color. The color is a little, it's not tough. It's just a little, it just doesn't work as we think it should work. Okay, so let's kind of do a quantity here and do a cappuccino and change the font. And this is what happens. The font dialog box comes up. Easy, right? So it's so easy. All you do is then you change it here. So if I want, I'll just for the heck of it, I'll change it and I'll say an okay. And oh, I didn't do a calculate selection yet. There it is. I'm saying why my answer because I didn't do a calculate selection. There it is. The font has changed. And again, if you want to change of your quantity, sure, go ahead. I mean, I just was thinking output boxes. Right? That's how font works. Nothing big and so easy to do. Really easy to do. Now the color. With color, it may happen that we have to kind of do a little trick because it didn't work as far as it had a weird behavior, but the concept remains the same. Allows the user to select a color. Okay, so again, I'll do the same thing. I'll take a color property, the color class, create a color object of it and take your, or I'll call it selected color just so that, because it's easy to kind of confuse. And take your, it's called color dialog. You'll have it. There it is, color. Why do I have two? Oh, that color dialog is a class. Okay, so there it is, dot color. There it is. Again, I'm doing this if the user does a cancel. There was an OK and a cancel. So the cancel will still, I have a color and it's the default. And now do the same thing. Take your amounts, however you want it, really doesn't matter. Take its 4 color and give it the selected color. Take your next. Let's see if it works. I'm not going to say anything till I kind of see it, because I don't know if they've changed anything in the newer version, though I don't think so. They've never done it for years. And then we have a third text box, item amount. I just write it in a certain order because I'm seeing the design. And the last one is, which one is left? Item, total, and subtotal. There it is, right? So it should work the same way, right? Now, let's test it. It may or it may not. I really can't say. If it works, good. I don't have to show you the trick. If it doesn't, then I'll tell you what to do. I doubt they may have done it, but anyway. I'll change the color from here. And again, you can do a, oh, sorry, what did I forget? Didn't even show it. Show dialog, right? That is the only option. There is no show. Okay, there it is. And it doesn't matter. You can change it before even beginning your project. It's just changing the color anytime you want. But the change only occurs in when the output comes up, right? So again, you have the option of cancel and OK. So cancel will keep your default color that you've put in design. So I'll just go red. And we'll say nothing changes. Logically, there is nothing wrong in it. So, and it happens year after year. I don't know why and why, but irrespective of that, you will have to do some irrelevant, redundant code here. Let me know if any of you knows any better from any other source. So what you do is you take all your text boxes. I mean, I'll just go with that. It was good to go here. You just have to take your back color and assign it back to the back color. I have no clue. Don't ask me, please. OK, I have really no clue. But this seemed to work last time. So I'm going to check it. Right now, the other option is, I'll tell you another option also. So this is so ridiculous. It is a ridiculous statement. Take the back color, assign it to itself. I've only done it in total due. Let me see if it works. Otherwise, and again, all looking up and finding solutions. That's all. If it works, then we'll do it another way. But I'll show you another way also it can be done. Some people like it that way too. Edit, color, red. OK. 1, cappuccino. There it is. Ridiculous, right? It seems to work. I just remember it from last year when I did it. I have no clue what is it doing. Like it doesn't even make sense, but and therefore I call it irrelevant assignment. So if you do that for each one of them, like for each one of the fields, I mean, all you do is you're taking the back color, assigning it back to the back color. And it seemed to work. The other thing that I haven't tried it, but it just occurred to me because some people preferred it. See how the output boxes here are gray? That's what happens when you make them read only. Some people still like to see a white background, like a text box. For that, you can go to its, I think that worked. I'm not sure. I think a student tried it. I've seen it in some assignment. Where was that? You can change the background. There it is. OK, so by default, notice how it is control here. If you go here and you change it to custom and make it white. I've just made it white. Notice how I mean, it's still read only, but I think it works if you make your background white instead of default control, which is the default. OK, so let's try. I could be wrong. I'm not very sure. I just know that foolish trick, but some people prefer to see their labels in white, but then they kind of look like input. But I can't give anything in it because it's read only is true, but they look like input kind of, right? But again, If I do that, oh, yeah, and choose red and choose OK and choose a 1 and choose a cappuccino, I think that also works. That also works. So change, I mean, I am only thinking white because it's a white background, like on white color should come. You could try some other background and see if it works for something else. Like I've tried gray, it wouldn't work with it, so I remember. So white just works because it's, I don't know, because it's white, like whitely. But that's another trick you could do. But the issue is not, it's not an issue, it's just a personal, personal preference here. I don't like my output boxes to look white just because they look more like input boxes. Though nothing will happen, tab will not stop on it, read only there, I can't do anything in it. I can't, and it's all fine that way. They just look odd, a little odd because they look like input boxes. So choose whatever you want. Right, so here are a couple of tricks. So somewhere in one of these colors, instead of white, maybe something else will also do. I don't know. And I have tried the custom ones. I haven't tried all systems, but I do remember trying a gray or something in custom, and I don't think it worked. You could give it a try. So this is something you will have to do in color to make it work. And I don't know why. Maybe something to do with that control color or something. So maybe if you, I don't know, if you change it to any custom, will it change? I have no clue. The white is just because, as I said, it's kind of natural that you just say, oh, it will come on white. So you can test if you like with those colors. And the other way, of course, as I told you, which was a little silly, but the other way is that you, oh, okay. Okay, so it's doing with a light gray, darkish gray also. So maybe the control, the control color itself, which makes it the default, that doesn't work. So that could, this is not bad. It is at least better than assigning the value to itself, right? Instead of that particular gray, you just change it to this gray, and it doesn't look bad at all. You can go this route if you like. But here is just so that you know. Okay, so white definitely I knew it worked because a student had done it. I didn't try gray in this. I tried the gray in the other one, but it wouldn't. So maybe it has something to do with your own custom color, and that doesn't look bad at all. So do whatever makes sense to you. I mean, the other assignment doesn't make a lot of sense, but whatever you like. Okay, so that is about font, and so I think we've taken care of everything. We've connected everything with everything. So you can just do a double check, but I think I have completed what I wanted to do. Any questions for me? And if you see anything else, like if there is another way of setting this color or whatever, let me know. These are the two ways that I know from hit and trial stuff. Yeah, the background was, of course, somewhere on the internet. Okay, that you change the background color to its own, like set it, just reset it. Any questions for me? So we completed a few more controls today. We learned how to add controls. We learned how to share event handlers. We did that, quite a few. And more important, we created a multi-form project in which we were able to share variables amongst various forms. Right? So that's what we did new today. So definitely the next assignment, when it comes up, we'll take this into account. Okay. So we are sitting in week 5 right now, and you are a week ahead of the other section. By the syllabus, the exam is in week 7 before the reading week, and it stays this way till now. If there is a change, I will put up a note on Blackboard next week. I mean, hopefully, whatever they cover, 1 week less will be enough for the exam. 2, you must be aware, and I'm not scaring you, you should be aware that there may be a teacher's strike in the college. I have no clue. They're just saying it. And we have no clue yet. We've just been given a notice, so we have no clue. And if that arises, then I have no access to Blackboard's emails or anything at all. So please don't, I mean, it's not that I'm not replying, I won't have access to anything. So if no decision is taken before that, I haven't put up an exam date or anything, then I can do nothing about it till the strike is called off. Okay, so keep that in mind also. They're calling for a strike in mid-October, which is definitely before your reading week. 15th or 16th, I think 16th or 15th, I forget the date, but mid-October, yes, 16th, I think. Right, so at that point of time, if there is no information about the midterm, which right now is officially week 7 before your reading week, then I don't know. Okay, so you just need to be aware of these things. And I won't have access to Blackboard or anything, so I won't be able to post any message. So that way, you should just know. So with the strike, I don't know. I'm sure we will know something. But as soon as they call a strike, all access is stopped. Okay. Now, what I would like you to do is, I have 20 minutes. How many of you are still haven't done your assignment 3? A few of you. Okay. Not. Why am I asking? Because I am requesting you to sit and do it for 20 minutes so that I can come around and mark your assignment 2. So just don't go off. You have these 20 minutes. If you'll be kind enough to sit and start doing it, or I can come and mark around. And if I only have 20 minutes, so I may not be able to mark everybody, but if you can, I would like to mark your assignment 2 while you do your assignment 3 right now. And if you're not interested to get it marked right now, that's up to you. You can leave, okay? But I still have 20 minutes, so officially I can ask you to stay. Any questions for me?
Yeah, wait, so I already submitted mine on Slack.
That is okay, but you can always open it on your laptop, especially because it's up to you. I'm entirely saying it's up to you. My aim is that I'm saving my time. You are doing your assignment because you have time for it, and it is.
I'm already done.
Yeah, so you just show it to me and I'll mark it if you want to. And if you're lazy, that's up to you. At some point of time, it will get marked, but that some time of point is God knows when. Okay. So I started doing them yesterday night, and they're not boring. It's just boring to mark, I mean. So if you can do that, sure, I can mark it, and it would be good. If not, that's up to you. So if there are no